Alright, hello and welcome back to the Bluff Bottom Bloomin' channel. My name is Taylor Sievers and we are here at inside my tunnel here at Sievers Blumen Farm, our flower farm in rural West Central Illinois. And today I wanted to walk you through how I take geranium cuttings. These are scented geraniums from the Pelargonium genus. And so a little background on the weather right now. Tonight is going to be our Frostmas. If you don't know what Frostmas is flower farmers, we often call it that because it's basically the official ending of our season for most of us. We're getting our first frost tonight. So I usually take the cuttings from these scented geraniums before the first frost. Just to make sure that, even though they are in a tunnel, just to make sure that I can have my geraniums for next year. So every fall I take cuttings, I overwinter them in my garage or in my basement, and then I plant them out, and they grow really luscious and tall and beautiful, and they're kind of a staple in my summer foliage. They're just a little bit different than the regular garden geraniums that you buy as bedding plants in the spring. These are known not for their flowers, but for their scent. So, like for example, the main variety that I have here is Attar of roses, and the stem length is really great. I'm gonna go ahead and cut one for you so you can see. I really have not had good luck with usable stems with most of the other varieties except the apple. So the apple and the Attar of roses are my only two that I really use for cutting. I have like a nutmeg scented one, and it just does not get tall enough to really be good in bouquet work. But yeah, so we're gonna take our cuttings today. These are really super easy to root, and unfortunately like not very easy to find in large quantities. I found my cuttings from Etsy, and so they came as 3 little plants, and I grew them out in pots and planted some, and by the end of the summer I had so many cuttings that I could have taken. It was crazy. So that's what I do every year to just continue having more and more stems and plants. So these do really, I love them because they don't mind the heat at all. So when other things are kind of slowing down, or in the spring I have a lot of beautiful foliage, but I really only have 2 things in the summer that I cut from for foliage, and that's cinnamon basil and scented geranium. So, and some shrubs, but those are the main things. So today I've got my cell tray here. I have a pencil for a dibble. So if you don't know what a dibble is, it's just poke a hole basically so my cutting can go right in. I've got some rooting hormone. This is actually more for, I don't even think it's really necessary, but I go ahead and use it anyways, just as a precaution, and it's worked well for me. And this is actually more for like woodier cuttings. So there's a couple different kinds, but it works just fine for this. I may do an experiment without it, and we'll see how it goes. And then I have a nice pair of clean, sharp clippers. And so let's get started. So we'll go ahead and use this one that I already cut as an example. The roots are going to form on the places where at a node. Okay, so when I'm taking a cutting, I want to look for something that's pretty sturdy. I don't want something too floppy, especially the top of the stem right here. What I would probably do is, see this juncture here where this leaf is meeting the stem at this node. I would probably clip right underneath that, like this. So I have this cutting, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip off the bottom leaves, and so the roots should be forming from this node. So this is what I'm going to dip in my rooting hormone, and then there's kind of too many leaves on this, and this one's a little damaged anyway, so I'm going to rip that off. And I probably will rip this one off too, because it takes a lot of energy, and I could also cut this leaf in half if I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. So this will go into the rooting hormone and then stuck right in the tray. So that'll be our first cutting. And I have 2 different varieties. This one actually I think is the apple, because I just smelled it and it smells more like apple than Attar of roses, but that's what I don't ever label them. I just kind of smell them between the two, and I'm like, oh, I want more of the Attar of roses than the apple. But I could have been taking cuttings from these all summer too, to increase my stock. So on this plant as well, I could probably get a few more cuttings, like this one coming out right here, this side branch. I could probably cut right underneath, rip these leaves off, and I honestly will probably clip this leaf off, and then I could boop, right in the rooting hormone. So that's pretty much it. That's how I take my scented geranium cuttings. Not really a big deal, so I'm gonna hurry up and get this going. That way I beat the evening frost. I will say it's beautiful. I shut the sides up in here, and it is absolutely wonderful in here, but it is chilly and raining outside. So having a tunnel space, and I left one of the doors open last night, but it's much warmer in here than it is outside. So it does make a difference having a covered space. So I will go ahead and keep going. So here's an example of the flowers. You can see why they're not very big. They're not very showy, and that's why it's not really used for, it's just used more as for the scented foliage, not for the blooms. Though they are cute and pretty, but they're not like a big showy geranium that you would plant in your landscaping. But they're all different kinds of scented geraniums. So if you think about the citronella plant that is sold, that is actually a scented geranium. It's just another type of scented geranium. So you could try taking cuttings of those too, because those would actually probably root really well. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, I am all done taking the cuttings, and the next thing I'm going to do is probably shut up this tunnel just for the night. It's cold, so that's why I'm wearing my hat. But I actually do want everything to just die in here, because if you see behind me, my tomatoes fell off their trellis and took over 2 rows in here. And so I'm just ready to be done for the season. And so I will eventually just lower the sides, let everything freeze in here as much as it wants, and then start cleaning up all the debris and getting ready for the spring. So, but here is what my cutting trays look like. All done, all ready to go in the basement on a heat mat and under some lights. And what I will do is I will just mist these really good, and I will cover them with a humidity dome to keep the moisture in. And I'll check on them, every week for the next couple weeks. And after about 3 weeks, I'll be able to tell which ones have rooted and which ones really haven't. And we'll go from there. And they kind of stay in these trays all summer. I'm sorry, not all summer, all winter. But sometimes in the spring, they start to get a little bit yellow, and I will bump them up into some little pots or something like that, just until they can get in the ground, just so they don't suffer too much. But for the most part, you can kind of hold them over in these for a little bit, and they do just fine. So that's how you'd take scented geranium cuttings. So I'm going to shut up this tunnel, and I'm going to move some of my potted plants that I want to just protect a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and move them inside my small little tunnel that I'm going to make into my little nursery area. And so that's all I'll be doing for the evening, and then we'll be ready for Frostmas. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments or any thoughts, and please subscribe if you like this video, and we'll come back at you with more growing information. See you guys.